Let's dive right into it. First of all, your initial impressions.
Everybody was going to talk about quarterback, and rightfully so. But I thought my biggest takeaway was everything that's around the quarterback. With running back, you don't lose Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson and get better the year after. However you want to couch it, you're working from a deficit. You're trying to get to a certain level, and the bar is going to be set lower for this group than it was for last year's group. But I think in terms of perimeter skill talent, I'm struggling to think of the last time Texas had a collection of perimeter weapons that's as good as this group. When you throw JT Sanders into that mix too, with A.D. Mitchell, Jonte Cook, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, Casey Kane didn't even play because of a shoulder injury, and you throw in the fact that we didn't even see Isaiah Nayer. He was limited this spring coming back from the knee. I can't think of the last time Texas was this deep on the outside. When you look at just passing game weapons, it's got a chance to be the best collection of passing game weapons in the country. And I don't say that facetiously. I don't say that just willy-nilly. I really do think, you look at what Texas can throw out there, it's going to be on par. The only group you could probably put above it in recent years, maybe the Alabama 2019 group with that had 4 first-round wide receivers, or 2019 LSU. Ohio State's had a couple of those, Garrett Wilson and Olave and Jackson Smith and Jigba. But it's on the cusp of being in that discussion, I think.
Put it this way, it's the best they've had in a long time.
Craig, probably, if I really think about it, I would probably say maybe 2003, because you had Roy Sloan and BJ were in there last year. Yeah, David Thomas, who really started to come into his own at tight end. Bo Scaife was injured, didn't play. You had Lima Sweet, who redshirted. But just in terms of name value, in terms of guys that would go on to be proven commodities, I'd probably say that 03 group might be the last time there was just this much talent on the field.
Yeah, the group, obviously, with Jordan Shipley, Marquise Goodwin, Jermichael Finley.
No, because you had Finley was gone in maybe 07.
07 is what I was thinking about.
Yeah, because you had Shipley, Finley, Quan Cosby. Marquise wasn't there yet. Yeah, you got the end of – was Billy Pittman there in 07, or was he gone by that point?
He was gone by that point. There was that overlap. That's why I'm trying to remember 07 or 08 between before, right at the time Marquise came in, toward the end of the time you mentioned – and, of course, Shipley was there for a while, and before Finley was gone. So there was overlap in there. But that's overlapping of a couple of seasons.
Point stands, though. It's been a minute since it was this good.
No doubt.
This deep. I thought there was enough give and take along both lines of scrimmage to feel like, this offensive line does look like it's better. And, we've seen years around here, Craig, where – it was really hard to find 5 you could put on the field and feel good about. It's like, wow, that's going to be the starting 5. Like, all right, I guess that and a little prayer could go a long way to making sure your quarterback stays upright. Now, I asked Sark in post, I asked him, whatever the number is. Some coaches say I need 7, I need 8 starting caliber players.
I like how you do that when you give a coach. I've heard you do this before, and not just with Sark. I've heard you do it with other coaches. You give them a framework on something instead of just pinning them to one number and say, you got to have this and this and this. And I was like, give me an idea about what you're, what you're going to need.
And I asked him, I said, or whether it's a true 2 deep, do you feel like you're going to be able to find that number of starting caliber players? I barely finished the question. He's like, oh, yeah, without question. And talked about just how good this O-line group is. And then, like I said, with the receiver group, consider Cole Hudson was out, Connor Robertson was out, DJ Campbell was out. Still, you throw Nato Ameozulu in there, you wouldn't have known the difference, right? Like, I thought he played well, and you needed to see some wins from the defense. I thought, Byron Murphy looked the part of everything we've heard about him this spring. Alfred Collins flashed a little bit. Edge is still one of those position groups where, and Sark even mentioned it after the game, could they go get somebody in the portal? Probably. I think that's one position where they can attack. And then we'll talk about the portal throughout the week. The portal at this point for Texas, it's a luxury, not a necessity. And to get to that point with this roster, that in and of itself says a lot about what the staff has done.
Okay. I got to ask you, because we got the text from Cam during the spring game. Were you surprised to see Jaden Alexis out there?
Yeah.
So Cam sends us a text and says, so I guess Jaden Alexis is not in the portal? And you said, no, he is.
No, he's in the portal. He was in the portal.
I said, which makes it all the more interesting that he's out there playing and catching passes.
We talked about that as the media corps. We talked about it in the press box, and kind of the consensus takeaway was, he's just the type of guy that seems like, everybody in the locker room likes him, not a problem. And just like, hey, if you maybe just told the coaches, hey, if you need, an extra body, I'm here. And he only played a handful of snaps anyway.
Yeah, right.
So I compare. I'm like, maybe it's kind of like in that last NFL preseason game, like where a guy knows he's going to get cut, and just like, look, just let me get a couple of plays just so I can have something on tape.
Yeah.
But didn't Sark say in the Pivot podcast that once you're in the portal, you're gone?
I think what he said was,
well, yeah, but Jaden Alexis is leaving
once he leaves.
Yeah, like you can't.
He has not left campus and has not officially departed the program.
And also too, I wonder, like, did he put his name in the portal not expecting it to pop on Saturday, or anybody in the program expected it to pop on Saturday? So that could be part of it too. But I was surprised to see him on the field. I don't know if I came away with any concerns, but I would agree with what Sark said, and just watching this team throughout the spring game. And it's interesting too, Craig. You've been around enough of these to know sometimes you get into a spring game, you get to about like the 8 to 10 minute mark in the third quarter, and even if you're a football purist, you're like, all right, let's just
get to the finish line.
Let's wrap this up. Let's just keep that clock running. This was one where you saw enough of the depth on this team. You're like, man, some of these guys with the twos and some of these guys even running with the threes look like they can be players of consequence at some point. Anthony Hill looked really good. Leonga Lafau had a goal line stop late in the game. I do agree with Sark. This is by far the deepest team he's had, and it's got a chance to be one of the deepest Texas teams in terms of talented depth that we've seen, at least in the last decade.
I agree with all that, and I will also say this: I thought that, I'm convinced of it, that I saw more of the frontline guys deeper in a spring game than I've ever seen before.
True, yeah.
Quinn Ewers is taking snaps and throwing passes in the fourth quarter.
Kelvin Banks was still in there.
Jalen Ford was making tackles in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So it was truly, as we said, it was truly more like a game, an actual game thing than what we'd seen in past spring games.
Yeah, I thought if you were a fan, that whether you watched it at DKR or you watched it on LHN, or maybe you watched it at the stadium and put it on your DVR to watch later, you could take a lot out of this one just in terms of personnel. We can get to concerns or question marks or whatever, but overall, I don't remember the last time I felt that good leaving a spring game about the future.
Yeah. And again, I think it was more revealing than some of the past that then allowed people, because of the revelation of what they saw, to feel better about it.